So somewhere along the way, I ran across a quote that went something along the lines of, the most compassionate thing a soul can do is communicate. Well, today we're going to look at what that is. When we start breaking apart what the most compassionate thing a soul can do, we first have to look at the word compassion. Now, if we just take passion right now in our common use in day-to-day, it usually means excitement or strong feelings towards something. I'm very passionate about this thing that I'm doing. But if you look at the Latin root of it, it actually means to suffer. And then you use the word cum in front of it. So compassion means to suffer with. Now, when you look at all of the teachings that kind of are around us, around spirituality, everyone speaks of the oneness of everything, that we're connected to everything ultimately. We all come from the same place. We are all connected to God, whatever way you want to describe it. And yet we have the paradox in that we are living within these bodies, that I am actually separate from you and you are separate from everyone else. That we are in our own unique universe, that we have our feelings and our sensations that are our own and nobody else's. And the way that we perceive things is fully unique. We have our own flavor in which we flow things into the world. And in order to communicate with others, we first have to construct something. We have to find a way of having a shared experience, because I'm over here fully separate from everything else. You are over there in your own experience. And I have to somehow bridge this gap between me and you when I want to communicate. If I want to ask, what are you doing? I have to construct a thing that I can send your way. And in this form, it's actually communication via a spoken language, which is my vocal cords vibrating the air, reaching your ears, and you decipher what's going on. The act of constructing and the subsequent act in the relationship of receiving and experiencing and attempting to understand the communicated intent is an act of suffering. I'm suffering with you to understand what it is you're trying to say to me. And that is an incredibly compassionate thing for another soul to do. We try to create a shared context. We try to construct a bridge across this infinite void between the two of us so that we can come to a place of co-creation. We can figure out, how do you exist in the world? And how does it compare to how I exist in the world? And how are they different? And then we come to a space of play. We get to experiment and discover together, but only when we do the work of attempting to communicate our experience to one another and do the very hard work of listening, to do the hard work of suffering in not knowing and not understanding in order to come to a place where we have a shared vocabulary, where we can say, oh, I know what you were talking about because I had this other similar experience. Is that the same thing? Is it not? I don't know, but we're in it. We're figuring it out together. And that is the most compassionate thing a soul can do. Subscribe, Twitter, Facebook, communicate.